Hey, welcome back to the food forest. It's another weekend, it's another morning, and we are now going around and seeing what kind of fruit we have setting everywhere, and we are thinning fruit. So let's just talk about peaches here for a second. It is very important that you thin your peaches to roughly one peach every 4 inches. And the reason for this is that peach trees will just put on a lot more fruit than they're capable of handling. So look at this skinny little branch. You know, it wants to put on 2 or 3 large peaches. There's just absolutely no way that branch can handle it. And then large, when you zoom out, you know, at a little larger focus, this branch is connected to this branch, which is being supported by this notch, you know, this junction right here. And every branch on this is supported by that same section. And just the amount of weight that that branch would have to support as the fruit gets very large is just not possible, and it would break. And this happened to me, it happens to lots of people. So it's really important that you thin to about one peach every 4 inches or so. I know it sounds like a lot that you're pulling off. You're pulling off probably about 80% of your fruit. Now the peach tree itself will drop a lot of this stuff, but it's really important that you kind of plan where it does it, because it won't do it in an intelligent way. You know, it might keep 3 peaches here and then shed other stuff, and it might not shed it at all. It'll do a little bit of that work for you, but for the most part you really have to do it yourself. So we're actually pulling, you know, 80% of the fruit off of this tree. What that'll also do is it'll make sure that the peaches that you have remaining will be larger and also sweeter. So super important. We'll keep that one there. Get rid of all those. We might keep this one here. That whole branch will have only 2 peaches, and that's it. And you can also tell which of the fruit you know, have started really developing, so you can cut off a lot of the smaller stuff. And you can also look at, you know, this one here is pushing into this branch. So if this fruit continues to grow, it's going to push into here, and it's going to end up getting caught on that branch. It's going to squish into it, and then you're going to end up having some kind of fly make a hole in the make a home, in the fruit regardless. So it's not even going to be edible because something's going to get in there. It's funny, I come out here and then I see plants moving around in there, and I realize, oh, it's just the dogs. It's always funny. They just love the food forest. They're right in there. Right now the comfrey is full flower, and I have seen some bees out here when I've been out here lately, but I'm a little bit scared because normally these things are just absolutely swarmed by bees, and this year it's much less. So I'm a little concerned with that. Previously I had talked about my planting strategy and how I tend to overplant and then let the winter sort it out. So I wanted to show you some examples of that as well. Here's a serviceberry tree, and we've got a butternut tree, I believe, in here as well. Yeah, I think this one's butternut. It's some kind of walnut, but I'm pretty sure this one here is butternut. And, oh, actually, I'm usually quite good at this, but look at this. I left this on. I like to pull those off in the springtime. At least slide it up, make sure that it can get some sun in there. And we do have invasive dog strangling vine. I talk about this in a few other videos. I like to chop them and drop them. Sorry about the camera shaking. But right in here we've got a serviceberry tree that obviously didn't grow at the same rate as some of the other trees in and around it. And we've also got grapes and I think maple in there. This might be grape. I think it might grape or maple. Anyway, but we plant like this, and believe it or not, all of those trees and this one here were actually the same size when planted. And nature will just kind of sort out which ones sprout up, get a little bit higher than the other ones, and kind of smother them with their leaves. Now, if I'd planted this smaller tree at the same time, at the time when this one is this big, there's probably a sunlight coming down in that lower level, and it wouldn't have died outright. It would have probably stayed semi-competitive with it. But because this had kind of, a lot of this leaf canopy was lower to the ground when this one was just struggling to survive, it got completely shaded out and dominated by that butternut. There's also a juglone aspect in this butternut tree as well, because it's a jugland species, but that doesn't really come into effect until it starts dropping leaves over decades, and the roots as well of a mature tree. So that will kind of play its way out maybe over the next 5-10 years, 20-30 years. But for now, it's really not putting out that much juglone in order to suppress the growth of other plants in there. And for those who don't know, juglands is a species of tree, and they produce a chemical called juglone in their leaves and the roots of their of the tree, and that actually suppresses growth of things around it. Here's a multi-graft pear, so we've got lots of pears growing, so it'll be a great year for pears. This is one that the deer often swing by and preferentially browse and take all the pears off, but we've got a ton of pears this year. We've even got some cherries growing on our little baby cherry tree. Here's another one right here. This one's a sweet cherry. So lots of cherries coming this year as well. Not lots, some. The linden tree is doing well, and no fruit on this for us. Flowers for the bees, and you can eat these leaves. These are fully edible. Not great, but they're survival food if you need it. And by not great, I just mean they're not super tasty. They're just fairly bland and rough. Oh, so one thing I do when I eat all my pawpaw fruit is I replant all the seeds. So look at this, in and amongst the raspberry on the edge of this peach tree guild that I don't know how long I have this peach tree for. I've planted seeds of other trees that will one day become the canopy here. So this one here, covered by snails but not being eaten by snails, is a little pawpaw seedling. One day will be the canopy of this area. This absolute gorgeous apple tree guild, which is the little pathway tunnel to my compost. So I like to compost in ways where the area that I walk through every day to take my compost there are really pleasant to walk. So I wanted to design it in and around and under this gorgeous apple. I can check on if I hear any baby birds in there. And then there's the compost right there, surrounded by stuff like comfrey that I can chop, put into the compost if I need extra greens, extra leaf bags, if I need extra browns, and water from a hand dug pond if I need water. All in the same area. Now this apple tree produced a ton of apples last year, and there are some. But overall, I would say this is a fairly slow year for apples. So we'll see what we get out of this. But for the most part, it's a slow apple year. But that's why we plant diversity, because when you have slow apple years, you have big peach years, you have big cherry years, you have big kiwi years. Let's show you that. So around here, we've got the walking area into the pond. Really nice ostrich fern year today as well, or this year as well. We've got pawpaws here, so lots of little baby pawpaws growing. You see them all? That little cluster there. So this tree made a couple pawpaws last year. This year it should make a bunch more. Got another one here, another one down there, another one growing in the understory there, which probably won't fruit. Oh, and this is a plant that I missed. So this is the garlic mustard, and I don't like it. I try to use it as chop and drop, but once it goes to seed, so once it does this and it bolts, then I pull it and get rid of it. Okay, so we are growing some kiwi up the side of the house, and these kiwis are going to be producing a ton of fruit for us this year. So this is the female here, and I wanted the female in the area where I would be walking to check the solar panels. So if I ever have to come and check the solar panels, then I'm checking also for fruit on the female kiwi. So all even up the side of the house, we're just going to be pulling tons of little kiwi fruit. In the late fall, we'll be harvesting all of the sea buckthorn from all of this. We've also got service berries that we were just snacking on growing up there. So a ton of food everywhere. There's another peach tree growing up in here that I'll have to prune back a little bit because I don't want it reaching over the pond and putting peaches. You don't want stone fruit falling into your pond. So, and even in our backyard, we've got some old, just ornamental gardens that were set up from the previous homeowner. They looked much, quote unquote, tidier before, but I turned them into tree guilds. And these are actually some of my more mature tree guilds because the septic, which we had to dig out, so I had to dig the septic out. I have to fill that back in. The weeping tiles go out to about here, and so we've got extreme fertility down slope of those, but I wanted to keep away from planting too close to it. And these trees can obviously reach the roots in just far enough to reach into the, somewhat fertile, weeping tile, post-weeping tile when it rains, and it'll kind of pull some of that fertility downhill. So these are doing really, really well. They're planted just far enough away from the septic that they shouldn't be too much of a problem. And we've got stuff like grapes growing up, other trees that were established prior. We've got raspberries in here. So we've got some raspberries. And then we've got grapes growing up, the birch trees, the walnut trees. So we've got a nice harvest in here using those previous existing trees as scaffolding, and then also habitat for putting birds and birdhouses. Got another walnut tree growing up in here. So this is actually a Carpathian walnut here. And then we've got lots of comfrey that we can use as forage for the chickens. Kind of see that in there. And then we've got this peach tree. This peach tree is the one that I showed last video, really affected by the peach leaf curl. And just look at the difference in the size of the peach fruit, because it's lost all of its leaves, it's lost all of its energy and ability to put into the fruit. So I would say almost all of this fruit is going to be shed by the tree, so I don't have to do too much work with it this year, and we'll just let the tree have an off year. And we'll let the chickens out, let them roam for the morning. As soon as I'm done this video, I'll do that. So we've got some more kiwi fruit. Just absolutely loving this area. This one is a little bit more established. It's on a south-facing side. So lots and lots of kiwi. And this whole arbor is kiwi. So even stuff that I don't get, it'll fall on the roof, it'll roll down, and then the chickens will gobble it up. They've also got raspberries in there for browse as well. And then I'll come in here and harvest grapes. Grapes aren't good for chickens in too high quantities, so I usually freeze a lot of this and I use it in my kombucha for my second ferment on the kombucha. On the south side of the chicken run, we've got all of these raspberries. So these raspberries will put on a huge harvest for us this year. And this is south facing as well. Like, just look at this one branch of the raspberry. It is totally loaded up. And then we've got that right across. And the chickens can get in and underneath all of this. And they can eat this, and then they can manure right underneath at the site of the actual raspberry roots. And just, if I pan up, look at the amount of kiwi that we've got coming this year. So an absolutely bombastic year of kiwi. So this is just like the story of a typical food forest gardener. You know, you plant the odd things. It's a lot of work in the beginning. And then it turns into a lot of work later on, but it's more on how on earth do you get and harvest all of the food that you've planted, which is really, really good. And then it lets you be a really positive person in your social circles, where you can bring all this fruit to, you know, I bring it to work and to pickleball. So I'm a pretty popular guy there, bringing all of this food into pickleball, into my work office. And things that a lot of people have never even heard of before. You know, kiwi in Canada. Nobody knows that you can grow kiwi in Canada. I don't even know how I'm gonna be able to harvest all of this kiwi. Probably open up some kind of U-pick or something like that. I'm not even sure. It's just so much. So thanks for watching. I probably look a little rough. I just woke up, but whatever. We're out harvesting out of the food forest and sharing what we've done with everybody else. And I hope that you do something like this as well for yourself. And then also just, you know, it benefits nature tremendously, because I'm not going to get to all of the food that I have planted, but some of nature will. Birds will, chipmunks will. We support all the life of nature here, and it's really important that more people do that. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope you're having a wonderful gardening season. On the next one. Man, we didn't even come over here. Elderberries, cherries, more raspberries. It's just too much food.